But the most part, we try to walk to and from school. And here's my youngest. You say hi, Clara. And the other two, they were waiting on me, and it was my fault. I didn't get ready in time. Anyway, so this is one of the scenic route to school, and it's just a way to move our bodies and connect with nature. And we see deers and bunnies and turtles and hear woodpeckers.
Hello, Autumn Athletes. Larry Sorensen here. And today I am going to connect with Cindy Murray and find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. And don't forget to visit automathletesndy.com for cool merchandise and gear. All right, let's get this thing started. Cindy, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you start us off with a little introduction of yourself?
My name is Cindy Murray, and I'm 44, and I'm a mom with 3 kids, and I work for a nonprofit that supports hearing parents with deaf children. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I live in Arkansas.
Okay, well, great to meet you. So let's start by reviewing your history a little bit. So
Okay.
I know we're going to talk about what you're doing now in fitness and so forth, but did you play any kind of sports when you were younger, or what did you do for athletic endeavors and training when you were younger up until now?
I dabbled a little bit in soccer and basketball, but I grew up with my mom more than my dad, and so she was too tired to like encourage me to do things. So my focus was make money and get out of the house.
Okay.
But although my dad and lots of people often said, "Man, were you an athlete?" And I was like, "No, I think I would have been a good one," you know.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I'm kind of grateful because sometimes I hear like, some athletes they get an injury because they overuse their muscles by playing a specific sport. And so, but we can all try to find our ways that are positive, outlook on why your life planned out the way they did.
Yeah. So we're going to do things a little different than what I normally do because you kind of have a unique circumstance. Now, you said something to me in our pre-interview about your superpower and so forth. So, I always ask people about did they have any kind of setbacks throughout their fitness journey and so forth. And when I asked you that, you had a very specific answer for me. So tell us a little bit um, about being deaf. I guess I'll just put it that way. And
Yeah.
growing up that way and so forth, and how you manage through life.
I didn't always think being deaf is my superpower. But growing up, we all had this need to belong and have a sense of connection in a family. And so I learned to pretend to be hearing to belong. So I learned to laugh when people laugh, when there was a joke, and even though I had no idea what they were saying. Of course, technology has advanced a lot since then. So I have a mic. That's how I'm able to enjoy this conversation with you more. Um, but for me, like I see a lot of people go to the gym and they like to talk, which I understand with social beings. I like to talk too. But when I work out, I want to work out. I want to focus, get it done. And so I feel like that is one way for me people always say, oh, you're very disciplined. I'm like, no, I just can't hear and I can't really have a conversation with you right now because
Yeah.
I don't have my hearing aid. I'm here to work out.
Yeah.
And so and of course, the other superpower that comes with that is that I can have silence whenever I want it. I can take out my hearing aid, and to me, there's something in the stillness, and that's also even though it's not moving your body, but there's a movement practice in the stillness because there's a lot to be said in the stillness, and sometimes I feel like we want to move to get away from something, but sometimes what are we running away from? What can we go towards?
So you mentioned something about hearing aids. Are you, 95% deaf? Tell us a little bit about what you can hear and what you can't hear.
So I have no clarity of sound. So if I was not looking at your lips right now, I would not be able to understand you. I
Okay.
had to see your lips. And the sound, what I do hear, so I'm completely deaf in my right ear, and in my left ear, I have like, they can't really tell you, an audiologist, when you get your hearing test, but the best way is 4%. Because the noise has to be 90 decibels in order for them to say, okay, you can't hear that, you're deaf. But the noise had to be 86 decibels in this ear for me to even acknowledge that.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's more of the vibration, I feel, when they put the device on me. So I'm surprised I made it this far at 44, getting along in the hearing world. And I got really good at pretending. But
Yeah.
now becoming more authentic and being like, I have no idea what you just said. So like either repeat it or learn sign language, I don't know, or write
Yeah.
it down. So
So now you've become so adept at this, reading lips and so forth, and faking it, I guess, as you would say. Um, but we were talking a little bit, and you said you're getting back into revisiting the craft of ASL. So how
yeah,
is that going, and what's that experience been like, getting back into using that language?
it's beautiful and frustrating at the same time. Because I feel like I'm in transition. I'm not fluent in sign. I was when I was in college. Um, I will say this. When I told you the story about, I would learn to laugh when people tell a joke, I end up laughing for the first time in present time when I was fluent in sign language in college. And it was such a beautiful moment for me because it's like, I got it at the same time, like in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's harder here to because just like any other language or anything you want to practice, you kind of got to be in the culture of it,
Yeah.
because that's what creates the accountability, inspiration, and that also comes with movement. When we see someone who's moving, we're like, oh, okay, that's possible. Okay, well maybe I could.
Speaking of movement, we want to talk a little bit about the movements that you do. So tell us kind of what your physical activity is that you enjoy doing so much, and just how you do it, and tell us about it.
Well, I love dancing. That always puts me in a great mood. So I try to dance every day. Um, and it's interesting because the way I connect with music is not by hearing it, it's by feeling the vibration. And so I don't always connect with every kind of music. I connect with ones that have more of the drum,
Yeah.
that consistent beat, you
Yeah.
know, like salsa or hip hop or even urban kids. Um, but I enjoy it because it gets you out of your head because we think too much sometimes and into our bodies. And it's funny because I notice when I dance, we're growing the dance community here, and I can always tell because I take out my hearing aid. I can always tell when someone's a beginner because they like to talk because they don't know how to dance, so they talk to fill the silence.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to talk, I want to dance. And so they'll be like, "What's your name? How long you been dancing?" And I'll be like, "I don't want to talk, I'm deaf." And they go, "What's your name? How long you been dancing?" And I'm like, "Are you deaf? Because I thought I was deaf." But I just try to see the humor in things and like notice, human behavior.
First of all, what types of styles of dances do you compete in? And tell us about maybe some of these competitions that you've been in.
Well, I don't do competition, it was more performances.
Okay.
And so I did salsa and bachata. We've been blessed to have instructors here from the Dominican Republic in Arkansas, like in Arkansas, because that's where bachata started in 1962 in the Dominican Republic. And it's not just the dance, it's the culture. They bring the love, the family, it's the connection. It's not just about the dance and trying to look cool and learning some moves. Um, but I've learned that I actually don't like performing anymore because it takes my time away from actually dancing.
Okay.
So my last performance was in August, but I continue to dance for fun because when you notice when things are is performative, it almost kind of takes the joy. But some people love that. They love to be, theatrical and,
Yeah.
that way. So.
Obviously, dancing takes physical effort and you got to be in shape and so forth. So, I want to talk a little bit about your training regimen. So, tell us what you do to stay in the kind of condition you're in so that you can dance and just enjoy life in general.
Yeah, that's a great question because I started doing mobility because I noticed when you're dancing, when you learn dancing, sometimes your body doesn't catch up to the mind. Your mind understands, but your body's like, it's not catching up. So one of that is just repetition and to not give up. And the other thing is mobility, is having that range of motion to be creative on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Because I feel like modern lifestyle actually inhibit us. We have chairs, we have couches, and I'm not denying that we can't have those things. But like even right now, I don't know, I don't want to mess up your video, but I'm squatting right now. So I try to take, rather than trying to do more, because I feel like we are already doing more. We're already busy. We're already like we could do less. Um, so I try to think of ways to incorporate already my daily life without having to ask. So I think, okay, if I'm standing texting, why not squat and text?
Mhm.
If I'm eating dinner, why not squat and eat?
Yeah.
And I understand. I don't do it all the time. Like if I feel like I just want to sit in the chair, I'll sit in the chair. Okay, it's more about push. How can I encourage my body? Because I notice I'm the most happiest. I feel good when I move my body. So we all deserve to feel good in our bodies.
Yeah.
And for me, moving in different variety of ways is the best way, and of course dance.
But
So
you did mention going to the gym. What do you do when you do go to the gym? Any particular types of lifting, circuit training, static lifting, heavy lifting,
yeah,
light lifting?
yeah,
Tell us a little bit about what you do when you do go to the gym.
yeah. Well, right now my fascination is with handstands, and I want to hold the handstand. My goal is to hold it up to 5 minutes. And what inspired me was I actually saw a dance instructor from Spain. She came to Arkansas, and she is an acrobat slash dancer. And so she just went to did a handstand. She did her legs split and she was doing all this stuff. And then she went into her bachata dance move. And I was like, that is so cool. I want to learn how to do that. And it's not just the coolness, but it's just like the ability just to challenge ourselves physically and see what we're capable of doing.
Sure.
And so basically, I do 3 to 4 times of handstand mobility. And so I do a lot of joint prep with my hand because handstands is not just muscles, it's also joint. And so that's another thing I've learned is that when we incorporate more range of motion, we're actually increasing the synovial fluid to our joints, and that makes our joints stronger. And so, you always hear like people going, oh, I just like tied my shoe. I went to pick up my backpack and then I injured my back. And I'm like, but you go to the gym 5 times a week. So what is it? So I don't want to go to the gym to look good. I want to go to the gym and move my body so I can be functional so that I can continue to live my everyday life and not have a setback because I didn't work the small muscles or my joints because they're all connected.
Obviously, you've got the physical part going and you're locked in there. Tell us a little bit about how you approach diet and nutrition.
It's funny because we always say like the older I get, the less I know. But honestly, I think it's more about being attuned with your body and what works for you. And I don't like to just because I feel like people are a little uncomfortable when it comes to diet. They're like, "Ooh, you don't tell me what I can and can't eat. This is very personal." But I actually had complications with my last pregnancy, and I thought I was healthy and she almost died. And I had thick blood. She had thick blood. Just to make the story short, and I was confused. I was like, I thought I'm pretty healthy, and I was just trying to find answers. And then finally, I landed on a website that talked about thick blood. And at that time I was eating more of a paleo type, like meat, vegetables, but clean oil, no fruit because all sugars were bad or whatever. And now it's just a whole 360. I eat lots of fruits, lots of potatoes, lots of vegetables. I do eat meat just because, I mean, you gotta have meat sometimes. A good hamburger.
Sure.
But for the most part, I eat mostly fruits and vegetables, and mostly in raw form, unless I have potatoes. I have that cooked, of course. But for the most part, I feel good when I eat like that. And of course, it's not satiating like when you eat a piece of steak or some scrambled eggs in the morning. So I do miss that aspect where you can just eat one meal and then you're not hungry for 5, 6 hours. But I notice, like, how when you get older and you have all these things start happening, you're like, and you think, okay, well, it's just part of getting older.
Mm.
Well, all my symptoms went away.
Mm.
And I thought they weren't symptoms. I just thought that was just part of life.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, there's something here in the way that I'm eating that, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't drink coffee because that
Okay.
was another thing that causes thick blood and I know it's a big thing for people like, oh, I love my coffee. I'm not telling you to quit coffee, but caffeine dehydrates you.
Yeah.
And so even I had 1 cup of coffee and I was drinking water all day, it was still dehydrated. So once I eliminate that, then I noticed a change physicality in my body. So.
You're 44, you're still pushing hard so you can dance, be mobile, you're doing all these kind of things. What's the motivation for you to do that? Why not just say I'm 44 with 3 kids, sit on the couch, have some chips,
Yeah.
and do that?
Well, I still do that from time to time because um, I would say just because I love feeling good. I love feeling good in my body and I want to enjoy my life. And I don't want my body to be the setback.
Yeah.
And I think I was pretty blessed because I had a father who was very active. And so when I visited my dad, we were always doing something active. We would go on a hike or I would ride my bike or I would go roller skating because he was always running and being active. And so I think he influenced me in a lot of ways because I think as a kid, I was very in tune, even because I couldn't understand what people were saying as being a deaf kid in a hearing family. I kind of noticed when I felt really good in my body. And
Mm.
so I think there's something about movement that makes, even though sometimes people go, oh, but it hurts when I move. I said, yeah, but it's maybe how you're moving, or maybe you kind of have to go through that transition. Kind of like right now, it sucks trying to understand somebody in ASL because I'm not fluent. I want to get there, but we have to kind of go through a little bit of. And I think that's the thing about movement. We're not asking you to go, don't burn yourself out and try to overload your body. That's not the way to do it. Titrate your way in.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, can I just, okay, instead of go watch TV, why don't I just walk around the block for 5 minutes? Just something. And I think it's important to have your why because what's the point, And for me, it's just to enjoy my life. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to play soccer,
Yeah.
and keep up with them.
Yeah. Sure. All right. So I always like to ask people if they could bottle their secret sauce to health, nutrition, and so forth, what the ingredients to that recipe would be. So, what would be
Hmm.
your secret sauce?
I think the secret sauce is to find what brings you joy. Because I think we get caught up in like, oh, I have to do this. I have to go lift weights. No. Whatever movement that you like, whether it's tennis or just walking with a friend, do that. It doesn't have to look like me or you. Like you, I don't know what do you enjoy? You like
Yeah.
to run, or I don't know, play
Yeah.
soccer. Like my dad is running. My dad, you can't stop talking about running. So
Yeah.
it's something about just whatever lights you up that has movement.
What's one or two things that you've learned over the years regarding your health and fitness that maybe somebody younger or even, into your same age group could benefit from hearing?
Wow, that's a deep question. I've been doing a lot of trauma release work this past week, so I feel like it's kind of all intertwined. But I don't think you want me to go that deep.
You can go wherever you want. Yeah.
Um, well, for a long time, people always were so impressed with me being so athletic looking, my whole life. But it was in the past, it was used as a way to cope. It was a sense of I didn't no offense to my dad. I wasn't raised by my dad. I was raised by my mom and her husband, and so it was not a very safe and protective home. And so when I hit puberty, I got attention from the male. And so that kind of lifted me out of my depression state.
Yeah.
And so I kind of used like that was kind of like the driving force, like, oh, I need to continue to look physically good in order to be
Yeah.
belong. And so now I'm in a different place where it's like I'm doing it because I love myself. I'm doing it because I want to continue to do things that lights me up like that. And so it's a beautiful place to be in because I think a lot of times people do things because they're trying to get away from something. I guess what I'm saying is the question is, do you want to be intentional or are you reactive? A lot of times people are like, well, I don't like the way I look, so I'm going to go to the gym. Versus, I love myself, and I'm committed to creating the best body I can, or I'm committed to creating a strong body. Anyway, that's a deep answer to your questions.
No, I mean, it's good. And I think a lot of people, both men and women, but certainly women, struggle with, issues along that line, body
Yeah,
dysmorphia, all those types of
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And certainly, no, that's a great story and an amazing thing that a young person could benefit from
yeah. Thank
taking the
you.
approach that you're taking now. So, no, that's good stuff. All right. Well, Cindy, I want to thank you so much for joining us to let us know what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to wrap up today by giving you the floor just to give us some final thoughts.
This is more of a mental thing for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
My invitation to everyone is to anytime, this is a famous quote that I love. It said, people and circumstances will reveal where you're not free. So what that means is that a lot of times when we have a situation or a person says something, we often think, oh, they're the one that's making me feel this way. No, they're only holding up the mirror to what is inside of us. And so, and I know it's scary to go deep, and this is why this is coming up because I've been doing trauma release work, So, but I think the best thing is to be kind and gentle to yourself through whatever practice with your movement. And, a lot of times we're impatient, we want results, but just know that if you consistently titrate your way into what you want to create, you'll get there. It's just let's do that with kindness and love and not like criticism and judgment.
There you go. Cindy Murray. She is definitely an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.